Hey, welcome to Ballard Goes Racing YouTube channel. I'm Chris Ballard. So as you saw in the title, I got invited to Sick Week 2026. I was actually at the airport. My buddy texted me, hurry home, you got stuff to do. Or we got stuff to do. You just see the preview in the text. And I opened it up, and sure enough, I got Sick the Mag. It was on Sick the Mag that I got invited as what is they were calling a wild card. I believe this is the first year if they're doing it. They might have done it last year also, but they took some of the fastest cars or the fastest car of certain drag and drive events. And for the people who don't know what drag and drives are, generally they're about a week long. They're 5 to 6 days long, and you race across 4 tracks 5 times usually. The first track is day 1 and day 5 usually, so you start and end at the first track. You have certain classes that you're racing in, and you're not so much racing against the person in the other lane. It doesn't matter who gets to the finish line first. It's who has the fastest average across the whole week. So on day 1, you'll drag race your car, and then if the track is, or if the pass was good enough, you will load up all your stuff in your car. Some people actually tow trailers behind their race cars, and they actually drive to the next track. And they just continue to do this throughout the week. But it's like 200 miles in between each track, and these are race cars. They're not really meant to be driving down the freeway and down these bumpy roads. It's really hard for them to even make it through the week or make it through even to the next day. A lot of people do break down on the first day just trying to get to the next track. And then you just continue to do that. So on day 2, you'll again race your car. A lot of people will just do one pass, do what's one and done, and they get loaded up and they get to start driving to the next track. Some people will have to make 2 or 3 passes to get a good enough pass for what they're looking to do. But there's also other things that play into it. Weather's plays a big toll on the day. So in the morning it could be nice, and then later in the day, the weather, if it's really hot, it can make the track worse. Or if it starts to rain, then it's done with racing. And then oil downs. You'll have cars that will oil down the track, and then there's a big delay. And usually they have a cutoff time. And when that cutoff time comes, everyone gets a chance to run at least once. But if you're in line and they'll call the end of the lanes at a certain time, and if you're not there, you're not racing again. And you got to load up, go to the next track. So it's one of the most, I would say, difficult types of drag racing. But it's super fun. You usually have a co-pilot that goes with you. Some people do decide to go by themselves. I'm not one. I always like to have a co-pilot. And so anyways, Sick Week is like the Super Bowl of drag and drives for the year. It's where I would say the big dogs come to race and try to break records. It's always held in Florida every year. This year it starts on February 1st. And so we got a lot of work to do. So the wild card invite that I got, I attended a race in September. It's called Redwood Rally, and it is on the West Coast. This year it was only in Oregon, only Oregon tracks, and it was 4 tracks in 5 days. I think it was just roughly a little over 800 miles round trip. And I took the car behind me, which is a 1927 Model T Coupe with a big block Chevy, 2-speed turbo 400, 2810 5 slick, and we ended up doing pretty well. The first day, we've been fighting this car for the last 2 months trying to get it tested for Redwood Rally. I didn't do any other racing this year other than the Redwood Rally. We just got the car running this past summer, and I think we got out there 7-8 times testing the car. We were trying to run 4s the whole week. That was the goal, and we haven't even ran a 4 yet in the car. We just kept struggling. We got stuck at 5.0s terribly. It was 5.01, 5.03, 5.02. I mean, it was just every single pass was a 5.0 something. And we were fighting our shocks mostly. The rear shocks that we had were way too stiff, and we just didn't have enough time to buy any. And I ended up asking one of my guys who helped me tune the car, and I said, hey, is there any shocks that I could just pick up? And he ended up sending me a link to some shocks, but they wouldn't be in until day 2. So day 1, we went out there, and we ended up actually pulling off a 496 first pass, which was the first time we ran a 4. So that was awesome. So we loaded up, and it was a terrible trip to the next track. I think it was roughly around 200 miles, and I think it took us 12 hours to do it. And we were fighting everything. The car was overheating. We couldn't figure out what was causing that. We thought maybe it was in the ECU, not turning things on, and it was just ended up being a relay.
Is making a 10 gauge wire out of 2 pieces of 16. So we have a 10 gauge wire that's running the fan through the relay, but the relays kept blowing up. So we don't have any 10 gauge wires, so we have 2 16s, which technically is 2 -8s, and then it bypasses the ohm resistance through the wattage.
At the same time, we got so far in the trip and the car kept turning off. And we knew it had something to do with our ECU system. We just couldn't figure out what it was. So at one point, the car was turning off like every 5 to 6 seconds. At one point, I thought it was really bad. It was turning off every 30 seconds. And so you're cruising down the freeway and it turns off. So you kind of roll the car out as far as you can and then restart the car as you're rolling down the freeway or down the highway. And then you go as far as you can, as fast as you can, and then the car will turn off. And when it was 5 seconds, I would just like speed up as fast as the car could get in the 5 seconds, and then the car would shut off, and I would just roll. It was the first day was miserable. I was also cruising without earplugs on, so I think it made it even worse. But we ended up getting into Coos Bay on day 2, and I got on the phone with Fuel Tech, and Fuel Tech says, "Hey, you got to get some fans on the spark box." I said, "Okay, great." And we tried doing that, and it wouldn't when we left Coos Bay. And Coos Bay was a little bit different of a day. So it was kind of like thrown away in some instances for some people, and others they could actually use those times. So someone that had a car with a diesel engine in it ended up leaving his fuel cap off, and it put diesel all down the one line, or down the one lane. And caused a huge mess. And then the very next truck, it was a diesel truck, goes down the right lane, and it explodes the transmission, from what I understand, and oils down the right lane. So they ended up calling that day. If you already ran, you could use that time, but the people who didn't run would need to run 2 runs the next day. Well, in that time, we were able to get those shocks, the new shocks. So we got those on. We actually got those on before we ran. And we ended up running one time down Coos Bay, but I had the tune all messed up to start with. And then when we went up, it didn't spool the way it was supposed to, so it left on practically no power. So we were getting ready to roll up again, and this is when all this oil down and fuel down happened. So we ended up going to, we left Coos Bay, and we started, and we were going to, I think it's roughly around another 200 miles to Woodburn, and it was brutal also. We made it to drain. I ended up throwing a belt, so it killed the battery, and now we're trying to charge the battery, and this car, even though it's an open hood and everything, everything's crammed in here to make everything fit. It's just a small car, and we ended up throwing a belt, so we got to a gas station, and swapped the belt, and charged the battery. And we had to and we ended up deciding to use ice bags. So I went down, walked across the street, got some Ziploc bags, went to the gas station, bought some ice, and we started just putting ice bags on top of the spark box. Was the fans where we were just pretty much pushing hot water or hot air on the spark box. It just wasn't really doing anything. It was maybe turning off every 45 seconds now, which was a little bit better, but still not. It just makes it for a difficult trip. And then you're also worried about burning up your starter also. So we ended up finally getting out of Drain, Oregon, and we ended up making all the way to Woodburn that night. I think we came in midnight or so that night. Doing really well in Woodburn. So Woodburn, we have this new shocks on, and we go out there and we run a 485 on the first pass. Which is the fastest we've ever been in the car, fastest I've ever been also. And I felt like it could take more power, so we put quite a bit more in it, and it ended up spinning, and we're in a 484. So we did make a little bit of improvement, But then we knew that we needed good tires for the next track. So I brought an extra set of tires, and thankfully we did. But this was the first time that we saw where the sidewall started falling apart. And you can actually see it in the video. The sidewall is like starting to like separate from the tire, and you can see the pieces of rubber, as the tire was going around. So thankfully we grabbed another set of tires. I don't know what we would have done if we didn't bring those. And we knew we wanted to burn them in before the next track, because we knew we didn't have a lot of time at that track. So we ended up throwing them on real quick, and within like maybe 30 minutes of them closing the lanes, we got up there, did a huge burnout. And ended up running, I think it was a 5.0 or a high 490 something pass. Which was that we weren't looking to beat the 484 that we got. But our main thing was just to get the tires burned in. So we load up and we head to the next track. It actually was a lot better with the ice bags. It actually made a pretty pleasant trip. We got into Madras, Oregon, which is the eastern part of Oregon, and got set up for the night, got into the hotel, and got ready for the next day. So now we're on day 4 in Madras. And we're swapping the car over, and we feel like today's going to be a really good day. We know the track's going to be really good. They've been doing a really good job the last few weeks at their races, just making sure they got like a stellar track. So we knew we were going to go fast, and so we ended up going up, and I pull into the second bulb. Bulbs come down, I let off the button, goes out there, pops, turns the car off. So I thought, shoot. And I just glanced over and it said overboost cut. So I'm like, what the heck? We looked at the logs and we couldn't really see what was causing the overboost. It didn't even look like it was actually overboosting much. So we thought, well, maybe it was a bad sensor. So stupidly, we turn off the boost cut. Go back up and it makes 42 pounds when we should have been making like 20 pounds of boost. So this has an O-ringed head gasket, but it does not have O-rings in the head. So 42 pounds was quite a bit of boost for it. It ended up not lifting the heads, which was great. Those half-inch head studs that we have did the job, but it caused a lot of problems. The car actually caught on fire for a split second, burned up our fuel lines, and just pretty much put us out at first, what we thought. We just couldn't really figure out how we would get the car down again, at least anything that was respectfully. So we were almost ready to throw the towel in. We were really there to try to get as fast as we can. If we got 4th, 5th, 6th place and finishing, I know a lot of people do like to finish these, but for us, we really wanted to get as fast as we can across the track. So the last minute, I said, you know what? Let's switch this back over to pump gas, which has separate fuel lines, but we have no tune for pump gas. So we're on the phone with our tuner, trying to talk to him, figure out what we need to do. And we couldn't get this thing to spool at all. And we went up there and we ran an 8-second pass. And I was like, oh man, there's no 8-second 8th mile pass. Let's just be clear on this. And which is just not good. And we knew that was going to put us way down in the pack. So we came back to the pits and I just kept messing with the tune until we thought we got some a decent spool. Ran back up there, and again, stupid mistakes. We go up there and we're just on gates. We have no boost controller at this time, and the car starts to spool up, and I go to let off the button, and right before I go to, when I decided I was going to start, or let off the button, the trans brake button, the thing starts to just spool big time, and I let off too soon. If I would have waited just a split second, we probably would have left on 2 more pounds of boost and ran something much faster, but ended up running a 6.0 pass, and ended up keeping us in first place. So that was good. And so we loaded up. Unfortunately, there's multiple cars in our group that ended up breaking. One of our buddies dropped a valve. Another one was already on the trailer from Woodburn. He was having oiling issues and didn't want to hurt his engine. Hurt his engine. So we ended up loading up the car or the trailer. Got going. Went down to Medford for the last day, and we have no boost controller. We're trying to figure out what we're gonna do. I'm thinking of running this thing on gates. On gates, it's like a 530 car. 520, and I talked to the tuner, and he's like, hey, why don't you put 20 pounds of boost just straight on the gates from the CO2 bottle? And I thought, oh, okay, yeah, it was just use timing to back the power off on the hit and drag it out. So we were messing with that, and it was just kind of a mess. It worked, don't get me wrong, But I mean, some of the passes we would got there, one of them was a 4-second pass. So on the last day there in Medford, we got entered into the Fast 8 heads-up race. Those times could be used for the drag and drive also. So if you were faster on one pass than the other, you could use that. So we ended up going out. I think the first pass we ended up running a 4-something pass on that, and it worked. The track was really good. It took the power, and I think it was a 496 also. So after the first pass, we were entered into the Fast 8, and the first guy we went up against, we ended up beating, and I think it was a 520 pass. We ended up spinning quite a bit. The second one we went up, again, we won the second round, and same thing, it spun, and I think that one was even slower, like a 530 pass. So on the finals, we went up against this Corvette. He was the second or third fastest car of the event, and we knew that we had to be like on our game with what we had. If we had our boost controller and everything was good, we could be in the 4s. He didn't go in the 4s that whole week, even though the car potentially can. He had it backed off on power the whole trip. The class he was running in, he was in first place, so he didn't have to beat on his car. But we had a thought that he may want to turn it up. So we just wanted to make sure we had enough power if we needed it. So we ended up putting in just a little over 20 pounds with the CO2 bottle and adjusted the timing. And unfortunately, we went out and the track just was not there at all. Right before that, the 2 or 3 cars before spun, and we ended up doing the same thing. We tried chasing them down. I got really close towards the end. I think we were about maybe a full car length behind him, but we were just flying by him right at the finish line. But unfortunately, we ended up not winning the Super 8, but we did win our class, which was slightly limited. It was unlimited class with a limitation of a 28-10-5 tire. And we ended up with a 518 average, I believe, because of those 6-second pass that we had. So didn't think much about it. We ended the event, got our trophy, went home, and I had some work to do, so I took off, and I was at the airport, like I said, and we ended up getting this invite. So this is the first video that we're making here, that I'm uploading to YouTube. This is kind of the introduction to the channel of the long form stuff. I've been posting shorts for the last month or so, just trying to build up some type of audience, right? And between myself and a few of our buddies, we're going to get this car back together. The engine and the transmission's been sent off to be refreshed. We got a new third member coming, and we just got a lot of changes to do. We're going to rewire it, replumb it. We're going to change up the fuel system, and also do a lot of testing. So our first testing, we're hoping we go down to California in mid-January and do a race down there. With one of the changes that we need to make is tire size for Sick Week. So the only tire I've ever ran on this car so far is a 28-10-5 slick. With the class that we're running for Sick Week, we're running Rowdy Radial, which is a 26-inch drag radial. It's a little tiny thing. It's 26 by 8.5 inches. And it is really tiny. I have a set. I have never raced on them. When we were building car, I put it on, and it makes this car look like a little go-kart. It is a really tiny tire. So I've never ran on a radial with this car or a tire that small. So the goal is to try to get it down to California. I think it's January 10th. And at least do some testing before Sick Week, and then try to get back to Florida, maybe do some testing if we can. But our goal is to go as fast as we can come Sick Week in Rowdy Radial. We hope to stay in the 4s, but we'll see. And then, so there's just a lot of stuff we need to change to this car, and I'm just going to be videoing it throughout the next couple months and upload it here to YouTube. So if you guys have any questions, comments, put it in the comments section, and I'll try to get them answered on the next video. And I think I've always been wanting to do YouTube for a while. I just kind of like a love-hate relationship with it. We have another channel called Dive Bombers Garage, which is a big group of us that do it. But I really don't have much to do. I video if they need help and stuff, but I don't do a lot of editing or anything like that with them. And it's ran by with their own editor and stuff. So this is my first attempt at YouTube. So so we'll see you in the next video.